Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. Okay, I have to tell you, this conversation that you're about to hear with my friend Rina Cook is so exciting and so fun and so fabulous. My face is actually sore from smiling so big and so much during our conversation. So I typically record these introductions right after we speak because, first of all, I'm remembering everything. And secondly, I just love feeling that fun energy of just being in a great conversation. And oh my word, today is no different. So Rina is one of the women that said yes to herself and joined me on the cookbook trip in September of 2022 and came home from France and immediately went back. And I can't wait for her to tell you why that happened and how that happened and all of the amazing goodness that she is experiencing by saying yes to herself hourly and is living mine, yours, and hers best French life right now. So I'm just not even going to keep talking. I'm going to let you listen to this beautiful conversation with Rina Cook. Rina Cook, I am so excited that you are here. And okay, friends, listeners, Rina has just popped on my beautiful screen, her beautiful face on my beautiful screen. And I said, I'm just going to hit record right now because I know you're going to tell me so many amazing things and I don't want to miss any of it or feel like we have to remember and repeat it. So thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much.
It's amazing. So you joined me on the trip, the cookbook trip in September. You started that trip in Paris and then you joined me and then you went home and then what happened?
That's a great story. Thank you for asking. So I went home on September 28th after I won't say probably, that was a life-changing trip with you. It really was. And those women, it is almost like you were playing God and you knew, let me pick this person, let me pick this person, let me pick this person, let me pick this person. And do you know, I still talk to all of those women that we went on that trip with. And I talked to you too, obviously, but it was
magic.
That was life-changing. It was magic. But I've had my magic has even increased and evolved. And sometimes it's really too much and I have to go to sleep. I'm like, this is
I love your life.
I'm like, this is an overload. This is way too much. And I am not kidding. I mean, I have never experienced this before. Taking all these risks at once. And and then sometimes I do hit a wall actually, but I will back into that and tell you what happened.
Oh my gosh.
We finished that beautiful trip, thanks to you. And I ended it in Paris. And I went back to Atlanta, Georgia, where I live on September 28th. And went to work the next morning, but I worked from home. I worked for a social media agency. And I got a Slack message, and Slack is a real time, what do you call it? Just software.
Communication tool for teams.
Exactly. It's like Teams, but it's, yes, and it does everything. And so I work remotely, or I worked remotely. Keep forgetting I don't work there anymore. But anyway,
do tell.
So I got a message from this girl, that a great colleague I work with, that I had bonded with. We had never met, and she messaged me and she said, "Rina, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. What happened? I'm so sad you're leaving." And this was my first day back at work. And I messaged her back and I said, "What?"
Right, I just got back. What are you talking about?
And she messaged me back right away and said, "Oh, I'm so relieved. All is good," or something. So I waited a few minutes and had to process this. And I wrote back and I said, "Well, I haven't heard that, but if I am leaving, I need to know." So she wrote back, "No, everything's great. I'm so happy." And I just sat and looked at my computer screen for a few more minutes. And those minutes feel like hours.
Yes.
And
like when you see the ... that someone's typing on the return text, you're like, absolutely. Oh gosh, is it "I love you" or "don't call me again"? Like, what's it going to be?
So HR blows up my phone and I didn't have my ringer on. And then HR sends me a Slack message, "Can we talk?" And I'm like, "Oh, yes, we can."
Jeez. I love to talk. Talking's my favorite.
So anyway, I got fired and everyone in the company knew it before I did.
Oh my word.
Yeah. So I made the decision. This was so crazy, but it was so meant to be. I was like, you know what? This sucks because I won't have a paycheck. But I think it was just a few hours later, I said to myself, I'm going to go back to Paris and I'm going to go to floral design school.
And so it is.
So that's what I did. And so I waited for the airfare to come down a little bit because if I'd booked a ticket, I was trying to work some things out too with work and then with my house and just tie up some loose ends. So a couple of weeks later in October, I went to Paris and I'm still here. And I've been here. I was only going to stay here a month. I've been here now for 2 months and my visa's up in another month. So I'm going to stay here for 3 months.
Yay!
And I call it, the first phase was saying yes to yourself. And I said yes to myself. And then it was making lemonade out of lemons, but continuing to say yes to myself. And I just can't even believe all the contacts and reconnections I have made with people. So when I was on the plane, I was thinking about, okay, how am I going to meet people in Paris? So I joined the American Women's Group of Paris on the plane and the American Club of Paris. I put the application in for the American Club of Paris. And then I'd already signed up for a non-member happy hour to go meet people for the American Club of Paris because you had to have 2 sponsors. And I was like, okay, so, I get into Charles de Gaulle and I go to this happy hour and I felt like it was sorority rush.
I bet. Like, did you have your luggage? What did you do?
No, I already dropped it off, but
Okay. You're like, I'm here.
and I've done all this my whole life. I've been in junior league. I've done, I had a high school sorority. I had a college sorority. So I know that I have to get sponsors for this, that, and the other. And I was like, I went to that happy hour and I left there and I was like, I'm not doing this. Oh. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm over this. And if they want me, they can just call me.
There you go.
So you know what? I didn't do anything. And they called me.
I love it.
Not called me, they emailed me. Your application has been approved. Because at the happy hour, they were saying, oh yeah, you do. You need to get some sponsors. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know anybody here. I just got here. And thank you. Y'all are really nice. And it was a really lovely happy hour. And so
it's happy hour. Have we had a happy hour that we didn't like? Not yet.
Well, this was so crowded. I mean, it was, and I was so overwhelmed. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. And I had jet lag too. I was like, oh God, I can't do this. But then I would get the emails for member events and it's just so lovely. I mean, they have Black Tie Thanksgiving event.
Fun.
And I went to that. That was my first event as a member. And I met some really beautiful people that I just bonded with. I fit in really well here in Paris.
What a beautiful thing.
And I never even imagined that this would ever happen. I mean, I had no idea. And I just kept taking risk after risk. And now I've met just pockets of women who invite me to other things. And I'm like, oh my God, my social life here is better than it is in the US. And I know it's because I'm new and expat bond together. Right. But some of these people are not just Americans. They're from Milan. Some of them are French. Some are from Belgium. I mean, from all over.
Right.
So,
but also like attracts like. And you are phenomenal and you bring an amazing energy and you are creating the life that you want. You are saying yes to yourself 1,000 times a day just by being there. And people want to be in that energy. I want to be in this conversation. Like, I want to know every detail. Like, it is so attractive. It draws people in, it draws opportunities to you, and it is not Paris specific. Like, you have that beautiful goodness in you. I think it has found a gorgeous home.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
In the Paris version of you.
But Wendy, I didn't know this. I mean, I didn't. And Paris is really, and like I said, sometimes I hit a wall and I'm like, I can't believe this.
It's too much goodness.
It is. And then I'll have these thoughts about, well, when is this not going to be good? Which is
right.
Right.
Self-sabotage.
Exactly.
We'd all do it.
Exactly.
We all do it.
So I just can't even, let me tell you about this.
Tell me.
So I get here, I guess I'd been here a few weeks. A girl that I went to high school with, that I was friends with, we were in the same carpool. Her mother drove us to school. She lived close to me. We went to an all-girls Catholic school in Memphis. And she saw that I was in Paris. And she messaged me on Instagram and she's like, I'm in Paris. And I was like, what? She said, yes, I'm living in Amsterdam with Edward. That's her husband. And
okay.
And she said, can you have coffee? And I said, and I was on my phone looking at Instagram. And she said, okay. And we follow each other, but not, the algorithms change so much. And so, she's not being served up in my feed. And so I didn't really realize that she's not in Amsterdam. She's in The Hague, which is outside of Amsterdam. But I was like, oh my God, I would love to see you. Can I see you tomorrow? And she's like, yes. So I met her for coffee. I had not seen her in 27 years.
Oh my gosh.
We picked up where we left off, did not skip a beat. We were so excited, couldn't even finish our thoughts or conversations because I'd be like, what about this? I mean, it was so frenetic and
beautiful.
I just got back today, actually, from seeing her, spending time with her at her home in Holland. And her husband was out of town, so I went to see her. And it's so beautiful and crazy. And it's absolute divine intervention that we are so much alike in that I would tell her about some shoes I bought. And she said, did you get those at Ann Mashburn? And I said, I did. And that's a store in Atlanta. She hasn't lived there.
Okay.
In 26 years. And I said, I did. How do you know that? And we have a lot of shoes that are the same. We have a lot of,
oh my God.
And we weren't best friends growing up.
Right.
But now our interests it's so great. We can finish each other's sentences. And if I had not come to Paris, I wouldn't have seen her. We would not have connected.
Right. And I love so many things about this story, but I love that you are having the opportunity to see the effect that you have on people. Everything you feel about that woman and how she makes you feel and how seen and known and just yummy goodness that is in her, that's how you make people feel.
I don't know that.
But now you do. Now you do, because you are experiencing it from another person. So just know that when we say that about you, you have now, instead of talking yourself out of it, you can say, oh my gosh, thank you. I know how that feels because I have a friend like that myself.
Thank you, Wendy.
Welcome.
So then I went to floral design school.
Yeah. Say more about that. Who has a floral design school there? And then who goes?
Oh my God. So I have followed this woman since 2019. Her name is Catherine Mueller. Oh my God. I love her. Love her. Love her. I've become friends with her. I think she's the best floral designer in the whole world.
Well, no one's asking anyone but you.
I went to that school in November 2nd of this year. That was my first week. And I could not believe, well, it just, one thing led to another, and my creative juices flowed, and it was, I could not, I will tell you this, and I don't ever say this about myself. I nailed it. I rocked it. It's the best thing I've ever done. I met the cutest, sweetest girl. She was in the station next to me from Seoul, Korea, and just a beautiful soul. And she's probably in her 30s, and she said, I quit my job in April. I was a banker. She'd majored in accounting. She'd gone to grad school, I think, and she was a banker. And she said, I didn't like it. I quit my job. And she said, I'm going to be a florist. And so that's why I'm here. And I said, oh my God, I love you. And so I started calling her my daughter, and we really bonded. And I went, and so she was here to get, it's a master's program at the flower school. Awesome. And she had saved her money, and she's building out her place in Seoul, her floral design, her floral shop. And I just loved her, and I went to her graduation. I still keep in touch with her. And I was just like, I never would have met this beautiful girl. And I called her my daughter because I don't have children of my own. And which I always wanted children. I talked to you about that. And, but this girl is really special, and I just want her to do really well. But she's left Paris now, and she's back in Korea, but I keep in touch with her. And
she has not left your heart.
No, and I haven't left her heart either. And that was really just so beautiful. And then I did another class last week, actually. And now I'm friends with Catherine, who owns a school. And I just bonded with her, and I bonded with just can't. Wendy, I've just never had all of this. This is the best thing I've ever done in my life. So, okay, there are two things that I've done in my life that were the best things. Number one was taking care of my mother when she was dying of breast cancer, and then moving to Paris. I mean, I just have never.
I love that.
I have taken every risk and opportunity that has come my way here.
It's beautiful.
And and you would get so bored because I'm just like, it keeps happening. And people, these girls,
I would get bored. What are you talking about?
just if I went on and on, because there's story after story, and
I want all of
can't
them.
believe it. And then there are two girls that I went to high school with, who are coming here next week. One of them had a dream about me about 10 years ago, and they weren't in my friend circle, but I know
Sure.
them and keep in touch with them on Facebook. And this girl who's going to be here next week with the other girl I went to high school with sent me a message about 10 years ago. And she said, Rina, I had a dream about you. And she said, you were living in Paris in a basement apartment making jewelry.
Oh my gosh.
And she said, I came to visit you. And so I remembered that.
Right.
And I messaged her, and I will tell you, I haven't seen her in probably 40 years.
Wow.
So I messaged her. I mean, we've seen each other on Facebook, but that's it. So I messaged her when I got to Paris, and I said, well, let me tell you, your dream has come true. And it's my dream, but I'm not in a basement apartment, and I'm not making jewelry. I'm doing floral design.
I love it.
I'm going to floral design school. So she's going to be here next week with the other girl that went to high school with. So I'm going to see them.
Beautiful.
It's so weird how, if I'd never come to Paris, it's like nobody wants to see me in Atlanta. They don't live in Atlanta, but my social life here is on the charts, and it's a little bit exhausting.
Everybody wants to be you, Rina Cook.
No, it's just,
I want to be you.
No, and this is really expensive, and I don't have a job. I don't have an income, and I'm just like, no, I have to do this. And I can only stay here till January, so because my visa is only for 3 months. So, but this is the most beautiful thing I have ever done. It is. I moved to London after college, sight unseen, like I did here, but I didn't know that was life-changing.
Right.
I have known I've been present for every single moment here. And I know how life-changing this is.
Yeah.
And every day, and I let everything build upon that foundation of whatever's happened here.
That is so beautiful.
And let me tell you, I really like this life stage for me.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's unbelievable, because I always wanted a conventional life path, and I didn't have it.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen for me the way society dictated or said I should have it.
Right.
And I never knew that I could feel this way by myself.
Right. That gave me full body chills, because it's true. Like, there is this picture that you go to school, you get your degree, you marry your college sweetheart, you have your first kid by the time you're 30, your second kid soon after, they get into great schools, you guys retire and golf, and like, that's how it is until it isn't. And then you think that there's something wrong with you when all of your friends tell you, I've been married, but like, for being a mom, all of my friends, you're going to be such a great mom. It's like, okay, it really doesn't matter what you think I'm going to be.
I know.
Like, you could think I'm going to be a great wife or I'm going to be a great mom, but unless you've got a ring in your pocket or a baby in your pocket, like, we're really not going to know. And your lovely opinion, although warms my heart, does not warm my bed nor my crib. So, it's when you hear these things, you do start to think, is there something wrong? Like, I don't feel like there's anything wrong. Even if you think you're fabulous, you still start to think, perhaps I'm the only one that thinks I'm fabulous. Like, it can be like, it sucks.
No, but I really do at 58 think I'm fabulous now. It's taken that long. It's taken that long. It is, oh my God.
But now, does it feel like it was no time at all? Because now you're fabulous? And now you know it.
Well, yes and no.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it felt when we
Great
finally
question.
got our
That's a great
referral
question.
from China. It's like, oh, I'm going to be a mom. Oh, okay. 25 years. It wasn't really that long to wait. Like, I'm good. Like, it just felt as soon as it arrived that the wait, once the wait's over, it seemed short. But I'm so happy that this is happening. I'm so happy that you're having this experience and that you are present for it, like you said, and you're not missing it. And now when you come back for however short amount of time you're coming back before you're going to Paris full time, because, oh my word, you so belong there. Now it's just geography.
Oh my God. Yes.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
as you have become the woman that you are right now, and you get to take her back on the plane from Paris.
I just hope she stays with me.
You just keep fostering that and water and sunshine, and she will grow.
I do. And I every day. Yes. And I love that you said all of that. I needed to hear that, because I'm like, she has to come with me. And I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I don't want to go back to, my same mindset. And I have all of, I'm going to have to go back and look at all of my journaling.
And turn it into a book that I will read.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Ah!
That's not true.
Nope.
Raise your hand,
no
friends, if you'll read this book.
Rude.
Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes.
And even my career, I have a career counselor that I've worked with for a year. And our first call, she was like, you have to stay there. This is you belong there.
Oh.
And I was like, well, it's all new too. And the expat life is very different. And I need,
yes. And
but it's a really good start. No matter what I do, right. This is a great, great start. And I really,
yes,
as I said before, this is a great life stage for me. It really is. It is. And even when I have bad days,
right,
I'm just like, you know what? You're in Paris. And when I have things I have to deal with.
Yes, in Atlanta.
Like the $1,300 water bill.
We have this upper limit. Like, how good are we willing to let our life get? And it starts to get really, really, I'm living my dream life in Paris good. And you're like, oh, nope, I got to stop, got to come back to reality. I'm like, no. What you're doing right now, that's reality. That's capital R reality all day long.
I know. And thank you, because I had to go meet some girls for lunch, and I was reading your text while I was walking, and you're like, no, I can have,
yes,
I've got people that can come. Because I start to panic and think I've always handled everything by myself. So I was like, no, I have to go home and check on my house and then come back. And you had written me that text. And then I went to meet the girl, the one that I'd grown up with and hadn't seen in 27 years. And she was with a couple of friends of hers. And I told him, and they were like, you're not going home. No. And I said, no one has a key to my house. And then I was like, yeah, right. I just need to calm down. And I know. Thank you, Wendy. I love you. You were just like,
I love you back. Thank you for receiving it.
This is just, yes. And it was, no, I can work this out. And this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
This is what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
And it's so funny. I'm just like, I'm becoming more French, and that there's just things I'm not going to worry about.
Right.
And I see just, my anxiety level is so much lower here, although because I'm not back in the environment that I've grown up,
right,
or grown up with for 58 years or off and on. So this has been just such an incredible blessing that I took, that was put in front of me, that fell in my lap, that could have been an absolute shit show. And I said, nope, I'm leaving. I am going to do this. And it really shows you what the possibilities are or could be.
Right.
That we are not bound to whatever we think we're supposed to be bound to. We don't have to do that.
100%.
And it's hard, because when you grow up that way,
sure,
you're like, no, I've been programmed to do this, and this. I don't have to do that. I can, if I can get away from it and sit in a corner and be like, hold on, let me think about this. Wait a minute. I can figure this out. And I can do this. I I'm letting go of a lot of, that the old narratives. I really am. And it's not easy.
Right.
But I stopped myself and I'm like, hold on, those narratives don't fit me anymore. And I had some of those things to keep me safe, and I've outgrown that. So,
Oh my gosh.
and,
Oh, so
and
yummy.
I will say, I mean, my relationships matter the most to me, and they always have. And no matter what relationships those are, it could be with a dog,
right?
With with an amaryllis,
which is beautiful. Look at that. Your forced amaryllis. Gorgeous.
No, I'm just, I'm letting everything fall into place.
And everything is fine, right? Like your house is not underwater.
It's not.
Whatever
Exactly.
friendships and relationships that you do foster locally in Atlanta, everybody's going on with their day to day. Nothing, the world is still spinning and you're on top of it. It's so beautiful. Sometimes we think like we can't do it. It's not for us. Oh, it's nice for Rina because she's not married with no kids. It's like, oh, hi. You thought that was not nice for Rina her whole life, but now it's like, oh, well, doesn't she have it all worked out? Like, no, like we can lobby for our limitations all day long, or we can write a new narrative and create the life we want. And that's what you've done. And I'm going to give you a standing ovation. Here I am.
And clap. Thank you so much.
Down. It's unbelievable. And so totally believable and obvious at the same time.
Wendy, thank you so much. I mean, and I will tell you, I do have days where I have a meltdown. I have meltdowns, and it is, I don't want anyone to think, oh, like you said, yeah, Rina.
It must be nice.
It must be nice. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have kids. Well, I don't have an income, and
I don't have a job. I'm not married. I have no kids. Tell me about how great my life is again.
I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out. And I have great relationships, and I will figure it out when I get back or here. Something will fall into place. And I just have to live one day at a time.
Which is all we were supposed to do in the first place.
But I get caught up in the future, and then we, look back to the past. And no, I'm way more present now than I ever have been in my life. Now, you may talk to me in 2 months and I may be, I may have a whole month where I'm like, oh, Wendy, I didn't say any of that. What?
That's the beauty of recording.
No, but yeah, no.
And the beauty of the relationships that you keep, because you're just holding up a mirror and showing everyone what's possible. And that's what this is. This is not, aren't you special? Aren't you? It's like, yes, you are. And so am I. And so is Susan. And so is Jane. And so is Terry. Like everyone that is living their best life.
They all said yes.
They just said yes. And I totally get it's not easy.
Absolutely.
It's simple, but it's not easy. Like it's a decision. It's a decision, and everyone gets to make it. And even when we think that, oh no, I actually don't, or I'm too stuck, or she doesn't understand, or wouldn't it be nice? Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice to like live on a farm and do all of this work? Like, yeah, it's really nice. Like we all, I don't want to generalize what other people do. In the past, I have created a narrative about somebody else's life and how they may have had benefits or situations that were different than mine that gave them a leg up. And that's why they have this fabulous thing. And that's why I don't. And I used to operate in a mindset that meant if you had something, there was less left over for me. And that is not the mindset that I function in now. That is from scarcity. I now live in a mindset of abundance, of possibility. You take a beautiful piece of the pie, I take a piece of the pie, and the pie is whole again.
Totally. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And I am going to plug you,
Okay.
but I really do think that trip, the cookbook trip that we did, really the timing was perfect. It was beautiful. That's another piece of divine intervention, because what do you call it? I rode the coattails of that trip because I wasn't ready to come home.
Right.
And Beth was still in France and she was coming back to Paris. And she'd been over here. She said yes to herself in lots of ways.
She did.
And I was like, no, Beth is living this life. You're living this life. I mean, I met these wonderful women on our trip, and Jeff and Susan. And I was like, no, my work for me is not finished in France. So, I mean, I didn't even, the next day after I got fired, I was like, I'm going to Paris and I'm going to floral design school.
I love it.
And I'm just going to do it and we'll see what happens. And
yes,
and I continue.
Yes.
Oh, and one of my friends is coming over January 1st because I said, I have this beautiful apartment. She lives in Atlanta. She is taking care of me.
Okay.
When I've been in really low times financially. I lived in her parents' basement like 30 years ago or 20 years ago. And they've really taken care of me. I said, you need to come here. I have this great apartment in the first arrondissement in Paris, and I can't get anyone to come and stay with me. So she's going to be here, and she's going to be here for 8 days. And I live right down the street from the opera house.
Of course you do.
So
You're a queen.
This is a once in a lifetime thing, or not once in a lifetime. This is the beginning of
your new life.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
I'm glad you've corrected yourself so I didn't have to do it for you.
No, but see how, that old
narrative.
It does. It pops up. And there are other things that have happened too. They're beautiful. And that's why I come home and I'm like, I have never had so much of this hit all at once. But I don't think I ever paid attention to it before either. And I don't have all the noise of, okay, this report's due tomorrow and the CEO wants to talk to you about this. And it's been really good for me to also be in a country that is not so revenue driven.
Right.
I mean, it's not perfect.
Right.
Nothing's perfect, but I don't know. Maybe I fit in a bit better here. Oh, I don't know. Maybe I don't. I
love that.
I don't know yet.
I love that. That sounds like it takes some time to investigate that.
It does. But this is so great. It really is. I am not exaggerating. I mean, 20 years ago, I could make everything sound
right.
Sound what it was not.
Right. Spin doctor
in the positive direction. But no, this is something else. It has been. Yeah. And I'm just coming off, I come off of a high every week and I'm like, oh gosh, next week's going to be boring. And I'm like, no, it isn't, because so-and-so is going to be here. And, and I will tell you, I spent the past 3 days with my friend that I grew up with in Holland, and I could live there too. It's so beautiful. It is. Right. That's utopia. I was like, oh my gosh.
It's beautiful.
This is, I don't know. I don't know, but it's exciting to not know too. The trust. Yeah.
So yes, it is. And to trust and surrender and experience all the beauty that God has for you. Like I feel like he's just standing like outside the door with his big bouquet of flowers, and we keep walking past the door looking for our flowers, and we don't ever open the door, and they're right on the other side of the door.
Just wish that I had learned this a lot earlier in life,
But it's also
It is the perfect time. It is. Yeah. Yeah. This German woman that I met at this little get together at this French woman's house that I met at this exhibit I went to, she said, I've studied the Kabbalah, and she said, you're right where you're supposed to be. I mean, I've met the best people and just people I never would have met in my little bubble, little world in Atlanta. It is so beautiful, and it's all your fault.
I take full responsibility. If that doesn't fill up our trips in 2023, I don't know what will. Oh my gosh, I have loved this conversation.
So have I. Thank you, Wendy.
You so much. Oh, my face
is
actually
so
hurts
red
from smiling so big because I've been smiling so big between standing ovations. It's so beautiful, honey. I'm really excited, and I'm so thrilled that it happened on the other side of our trip, because I feel like it's happening for me also. Like I'm getting to experience it with you because of our bond. And I love that everyone else in the group is getting to experience it with you as well. And I just can't wait to hear what's next.
They do, and they all stalk me on Instagram, and I love it. I mean,
hi, you're living our best life right now. Of course, we're stalking you.
And Jeffrey and I Wordle.
Are you playing Wordle?
Yes. And then I'll go a few days. I did Wordle today, and I haven't sent it to him yet because I have to tell him I've been in Holland. So this is why
you may curtsy and bow accordingly, because I am a queen. Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you so much, Rina.
Thank you, Wendy. I mean, this has really shaped my life. It's really changed it. I appreciate it so much. I really do.
It's the best job I've ever had in my whole life. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site, or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.